Hey friends, this is the Mrs. Wolfie from Our Half Acre Homestead with Turducken Part 2, Deboning the Duck. Okay folks, I'm not Julia Child, and this is not a store-bought duck, as you can tell by all the little bits of feathers and stuff. Okay, this is our duck, and I'm not going to debone it as if I was going to sew it back together and stuff it. Because A, we don't want all this skin, because although duck fat is wonderful for cooking and chefs and all that stuff, I'm sure can tell you, we don't want all that fat. They're a very fatty bird. I mean, you can just almost squeeze the fat up. But we are going to save a little strip of the skin just for putting in the turducken between the layers for flavor, but we only need a piece. Okay? So this does not have to be pretty. And I'm not saving the wings because, well, I don't need to. They're scrawny and they can go into the stock pot. So we're just going to, essentially, all we want is the meat around the rib cage, like the breast meat and the thigh meat. So let's start. You want a really sharp knife. I have taken the precaution, as I did with the turkey, of laying heavy-duty plastic over my tablecloth so that I can make cleanup easier. The only reason you would want to keep all the skin intact is if you're making one of those fancy things where you sew it back together and stuff it, which we're not doing. So we're just going to parts this. Well, not parts it. We want as much of this intact as possible. There we go. Now, we're just going to feel for the spine, and we're just going to run a very sharp boning knife, up here. Now, folks, you may see bits of pin feathers and stuff in here, but I am going to keep the skin and all the other parts for rendering because, well, I'm pretty sure there would be a lot of people out there flipping out if I threw away all this duck fat. If you think chicken fat is good for cooking, apparently duck fat is the cat's meow. You can tell I've never worked with a duck before, eh, folks? Because we don't want all that fat inside our turkey, right? So we just want some for the flavor. These are really fat animals. Okay, now let's get the thigh off so that we can debone it, because that's a lovely, lovely meat. And we're just going to break that right there until we see the joint, and we're just going to cut through the joint like that. We're going to set him aside. We're going to do the same with the other side. They have absurdly little legs. Wow, he just stress-free deboning there. Okay. Yes, that was my dryer. Okay. Now, I'm just going to go under the cavity here, and I'm going to see if I can't just pull the skin right off. I'm going to put my hand between the fat and the meat and see, just cut away a bit of the connective tissue and pull. I can feel the breastbone there. We want to keep the meat as intact as possible, so separating the skin is a good idea. There we go. Oh, a little bit of meat there. We don't want to lose that. Stick my hand down in between, and Bob's your uncle. We've managed to get all that skin right off the breast, just like that. Now, I am just going to take this one lovely section that we were really careful to pluck as best as we could, because we just want him for flavor, or it for flavor. But any more would be just way too greasy. Just a little strip of fat. This can be put aside for rendering. Okay, now there isn't a lot of meat on the back, so I'm just going to see if I can get my knife here. Look at this. This is beautiful. I'm just going to go along the breastbone really, really gently, because you do not want to lose any of this meat. And look at that. It literally pulls away from the bone. God, it smells like beef almost. Okay, there's one side of the breast. We're just gonna, like I said, cut along, find the wishbone, and just slip your knife point under the wishbone like that. And again, this practically just pulls away from the bone. It smells like beef, folks. It smells like beef. Okay, there's our breasts. This is going to go into the stock pot, and the rest is going to go for, like, you've got to see the fat. Well, we want to get rid of this oil gland here. But I'm going to be rendering this for duck fat, and I will use the cavity for stock for our gravy. So there's our two breasts right there. There's our two breasts, our piece of breast skin. And now we're going to debone the legs. I'm just going to go along the underside . And Bob's your uncle. Now I'm going to try to do a better job of this leg than I did of the last one. And I'm just going to cut down to the bone with my knife, being very, very, very careful. There is a reason that meat cutters wear chainmail gloves. And you can feel along the bone with your knife and just kind of get under it. Of course, if I'd have thought of this with the first time, the first one would have been much easier. But like I said, it doesn't have to be beautiful. Why? Because it's going to be inside the turkey. You just want to make sure you have the meat. And you don't want a bunch of chunks if you can help it. Run along the bone. And then we're going to take the meat away from the bone here. I've got the two bones in my hand like this. And I'm just cutting down to the joint, like so. Second time's the charm, folks. And people wonder why my hands are so battered, eh? There we go. And there is our other thigh. That one looks quite a bit better than the first one. But that's okay. It's not going to be seen until it's sliced. Okay. I'm going to wash my hands. And we'll be right back. Okay, now what we're going to do again is we're going to take a piece of parchment and we're going to lay out our duck parts as if they were going inside the turkey. So there's the breast, and there is the thigh, and our other chopped up little thigh there. And then we're just going to lay this little piece of duck skin on top. I'm going to fold the end over, and I'm just going to roll this up. And again, folks, this bird was fresh, not frozen. You cannot or should never ever thaw a frozen bird, debone it, and then refreeze it. Always, if you're going to debone and parts them up and freeze them, always, always, always start with fresh. This is the Mrs. Wolfie from Our Half Acre Homestead saying, Part 2, deboning of the duck for our turducken. Take care, bye-bye.